What I'd like to do is drill a little more than halfway through on this side. So I put some tape in place here and I measured about 3¼ inches from the lowest point of this drill bit up to the tape. Now I'm just going to drill approximately until that tape hits the edge. I'm going to stay away from the sides a little bit because I have no way in this particular setup of ensuring that I'm drilling perpendicular to this surface. So if I'm wandering off to the side a little bit, I don't want to cut into the wood that we're trying to keep. So rather than crowding my holes together, I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a gap between the edge of the drill bit and the edge of the mortise. When I get down to this end, I'm going to move away from my last hole because I do like to be fairly close in the corner. All right, at some point you have to stop drilling and just start chiseling. So I think we've helped ourselves out quite a bit there and we're ready to start grinding out some chips. So the process here is the same. I'm going to drop my chisel into the score line and then we're going to tilt the handle back so I'm pointing into the waste wood and just chop down a little bit there. And then come around the corner, do the same thing. So as I'm chiseling down, I want to be very careful that I'm not overshooting my actual mortise. So when I'm chiseling down inside the mortise, I want to make sure that I'm not starting to head out like this. And the issue is that this beveled edge tends to force the chisel in that direction. So as I'm chiseling down, I am pulling back this way to resist the tendency of the chisel to dive out that way. And I'm also just sort of stopping and eyeballing this way to make sure that my chisel isn't heading out to the mortise. Because again, if we remove too much wood, there's really nothing that we can do to put it back in a meaningful way. And I'm just alternating between chiseling straight down and chiseling in toward that vertical cut. If you're working in your shop or garage and you have compressed air, that is a great way to remove this excess wood. If you're cutting this in your living room, you probably don't want to do that. Might need to unclamp the workpiece and just sort of dump the piece over. You do need to get that wood out of your way so you can see what's going on. All right, at this point, I'm really nowhere near done, but I want to just check my depth, see if I'm about halfway through. All right, that's looking pretty good, about 3 inches down. So I don't have to worry too much more about gaining depth. I just want to clean this up. Much like the first mortise I did, I want this side to be completely done and square to this surface. Then I'll roll it over and finish the other side. So again, as I'm working across the top here, dropping the chisel into the score line, it's just sort of opening up in front of the chisel. making it very easy for me to trace or chase a straight line down the side of the mortise. Even though I've been hitting this with a mallet fairly aggressively, the cutting edge is still beautifully sharp. So rather than switching to my slick, since I'm already holding this, I'm just using it as a paring tool. So I'm basically using it as a slick to clean up the sidewall. Again, before I go too far, I want to check the sides of the mortise to make sure I'm not overcutting. Looks like I've got more to go. The combination square blade is touching on the bottom, and it is away from the side of the mortise at the top, meaning I've got to get rid of some more wood down inside the mortise. I want that combination square blade to be touching all the way down uniformly, top to bottom. All right, so I'm taking very thin shavings, and then checking again, because this is where this mortise could get basically ruined. If I take away too much material and it becomes concave on the sides, we now have a loose joint, basically a loose mortise. The sawhorse is going to be rickety. We want good contact on all sides between the mortise and the tenon. So just taking real small nibbles and then checking. So now I've got a just ever so slight gap again at the top, meaning I've got to take just a slight bit more inside the mortise. Again, if it's not obvious to you because of lighting or anything else, just take some graphite, mark up your combination square, and slide that back and forth. And you can see a line that's running across inside of the mortise there that needs to be removed. All right, now I'm going to walk around the corner, do the same thing here. All right, so again, the mortise is aiming in at the bottom, which is good. It means I've got to take a little more material. I haven't taken too much yet. I was happy with the squareness and flatness of this surface, so I actually just took the leg and spun it around so I'd have better access to this side of the mortise. And since I stopped, I set my bench chisel down and I've picked up my slick. All right, so again, I've got a big gap up here near the top of the mortise between the blade on my combination square, but down inside the mortise, the blade is actually hitting the side of the mortise, so I need to remove more wood down in there. So we've got uniform contact top to bottom between the blade of the combo square and the side of the mortise. I'm going to use my slick again because it's a little bit wider, allows me to get a flatter surface. I can't stress enough though how important it is to take very small slivers and check, a few more small slivers and then check. I'm at the point now where, again, would be very easy to sort of ruin this mortise by taking too much wood. So when you're getting close, you need to become very patient and check, slick, check, slick. All right, perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. We've got good contact between the blade of the combination square and the side of the mortise, indicating that the surface inside the mortise is perpendicular to this face. That will allow the two pieces to come together with a nice tight fit. All right, at this point, all four sides of the mortise are perpendicular to this surface. Check that with the combination square. And we're just a little bit more than 3 inches deep. So we're ready to flip this over, drill from the other side, and finish this mortise. All right, so I've largely broken through and I'm starting to mate up the two surfaces because on the first side, all four sides were perpendicular to the surface. When you get to the second side and you start making these vertical sides perpendicular to this surface, they should match up perfectly. If you have a timber that is not square, so if you're working with rough sawn lumber or it wasn't planed correctly, you might find that those surfaces don't align perfectly in the middle part of the mortise. It is worth making them align, even if it means you're slightly out of square, because we have a tenon that needs to run through there. So if those surfaces don't align, the tenon's going to have a hard time getting through. So even if you're a little bit out of square, according to the combination square, you want a nice clean plane on both sides so that as the tenon runs through, it's not getting caught up on anything. If you're interested in timber framing or thinking about building your own timber frame, but you're not quite ready, we have a fantastic course for you. Using just two 6x6x10s, we introduce you to the art of timber framing. In this course, we cover all of the aspects from layout, marking, hand sawing, cutting, and refining all of your joinery. This is a great project because it's not a big commitment on your part, just a few hand tools and a minor investment in timber. And in the end, you get a great, robust pair of sawhorses, which will be a tremendous benefit to you when you do actually get to building your timber frame. If you're ready to get started, click the link below and we hope to see you in our online course.